I am not fit for any man, sir. But I can love your children.
The boarding house matron stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Every girl your age has already left Ruth. Married. Chosen. Found somewhere to go. She looked Ruth up and down. Tell me, aren't you fit for any man? Ruth's hands stilled on the dish she was washing. The words hit like a slap. But she'd heard them before. 2 years ago. A train platform. She'd traveled 3 days to meet a man who'd placed a marriage ad. He laughed when he saw her step down. Didn't touch her bag. Didn't ask her name. Just said, "You're not what I ordered. You're not fit for any man." She took the next train back. That sentence never left. Now the matron was waiting for an answer. Ruth dried her hands slowly. "No, ma'am," she said quietly. "I suppose I'm not fit for any man." The matron smiled. Satisfied. "Then you'd better start looking for work. This house closes in 2 weeks. Ruth stood alone in the kitchen. $17 to her name. Nowhere to go. But that night, she saw something tacked to the church bulletin board. A handwritten notice, barely legible, desperate. Widower. 3 children. Need help. Send word. She unpinned it. That night, she sent a telegram and bought a train ticket with her last $17. The train pulled into Redemption Creek late Friday afternoon. Ruth stepped onto the platform, small bag in hand, and stopped. 4 young women were already there. Pretty, confident, laughing together about the desperate widower. A man stood near a wagon at the far end of the platform. Tall, work-worn, hat pulled low. 3 children stood behind him, thin, quiet, too still. The women approached like they were doing him a favor. The blonde spoke first. "What are the wages, Mr. Hartley?" "Room and board, plus $10 a month." She laughed. $10? For 3 children? I'd need 20. And my own room with a lock. And Sundays off. Another chimed in. I'd need a clothing stipend. This work will ruin my dresses. A third looked at the children with barely concealed disgust. Are they well behaved? I won't tolerate wild children. James's jaw tightened. They're grieving. Their mother died 4 months ago. That's very sad, the blonde said flatly. But your offer isn't acceptable. Good day. They turned and walked away, already laughing again. James stood there, defeated. The smallest child, a little girl with dark braids, had silent tears running down her face. Ruth's heart cracked open. She stepped forward before she could stop herself. The last woman turned and saw her. Her eyes widened. What are you doing here? Ruth ignored her. Walked straight to James Hartley. Mr. Hartley. I'm Ruth Brennan. I sent you a telegram. He looked at her. Took in her size, her plain dress, her work-worn hands. She waited for the familiar expression, the disappointment, the rejection. It didn't come. The red-headed woman laughed. Oh, this will be good. You think he wants you? Look at yourself. Ruth's face burned. The old shame rose up, choking her. But she forced herself to keep looking at James. Forced herself to speak the truth that had been beaten into her. I am not fit for any man, she said, her voice shaking. I know that. I've known that for a long time. The station went quiet. Even the red-headed woman stopped laughing. Ruth looked past James at the 3 children. At the little girl with tears on her face. At the boy clutching his sister's hand. At the older girl trying so hard to be brave. But I can love your children, Ruth said, and her voice steadied. I can care for them. I can make them feel safe. I can be what they need, even if I'm not what anyone wants. James stared at her. The moment stretched out, painful and endless. Then he asked one question, will you stay? Ruth's breath caught. Yes, she whispered. I'll stay. James nodded once. Then he turned to his youngest daughter and gently picked her up. He placed her in Ruth's arms without a word. The little girl was light as a bird, trembling. Ruth held her carefully, one hand supporting her back, the other cradling her head. The child pressed her face into Ruth's shoulder and cried, real, gasping sobs that sounded like they'd been held back for months. "This is Lucy," James said quietly. "She's 3. That's Emma, she's 8. And Thomas is 5. Ruth looked at each child, memorizing their faces. Emma was watching her with guarded eyes. Thomas was still holding his sister's hand, uncertain. "Hello," Ruth said softly. "I'm Miss Ruth." The red-headed woman made a disgusted sound and stalked away. James picked up Ruth's bag and gestured toward the wagon. "It's an hour's ride to the ranch. The children haven't eaten since breakfast." Ruth followed him, Lucy still in her arms. Emma and Thomas climbed up silently. As the wagon pulled away from the station, the ranch appeared over a hill as the sun dropped low. Sturdy barn, solid house. But as they got closer, Ruth saw the truth. Laundry piled on the porch. Garden overgrown. Chickens running loose. The ranch was dying slowly. James pulled the wagon to a stop. "It's not much. I haven't had time to keep up with things." "It's not bad," Ruth said quietly. "It's grief." He looked at her, something shifting in his eyes. Inside, the house was chaos. Dishes stacked everywhere. Dust on every surface. Baby things scattered across the main room. But the bones were good. Strong wood. Big windows. A stone fireplace. James showed her to a small room off the kitchen. It was the hired hand's room. "It has a lock on the inside." "Thank you." Emma stood in the doorway, watching. 8 years old with her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn chin. "You won't stay," Emma said flatly. "Everyone leaves." Ruth knelt down to her level. "I'm not everyone. That's what the last one said." "How many have there been?" "Since Mama died. 5 women in 4 months. No wonder these children looked like ghosts." Ruth met Emma's eyes. "I understand if you don't believe me. But I'm here now, and I'm staying. You don't have to trust me yet. You just have to let me try." Emma stared at her for a long moment, then turned and walked away. That night, after the children were in bed, Ruth stood in the kitchen looking at the mountain of unwashed dishes. She rolled up her sleeves and got to work. An hour later, James came in from the barn. He stopped in the doorway, staring at the clean counters, the swept floor, the dishes drying on the rack. "You didn't have to do that." "I know. I hired you for the children, not." "I need to work," Ruth said quietly. "It's the only thing that keeps me from thinking." James picked up a towel and started drying dishes beside her. They worked in silence, side by side. When the kitchen was clean, James made coffee. Set a cup in front of Ruth without asking. "Thank you," she said. "You're good at this. Taking care of things. My mother taught me before she died." They sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell outside. Lucy slept in a small bed near the fireplace. Emma and Thomas were upstairs. For the first time since his wife died, James's house didn't feel empty. For the first time since her baby died, Ruth felt like she belonged somewhere. Outside, the ranch settled into evening quiet. Inside, for broken people began to heal. 2 weeks passed. Lucy stopped flinching when Ruth reached for her. Thomas started following Ruth around the kitchen, watching her work with curious eyes. But Emma kept her distance. The 8-year-old had built walls so high Ruth couldn't see over them. She refused Ruth's help with everything. Dressed herself, even when buttons were crooked. Made her own breakfast, even when porridge burned. Took care of Thomas and Lucy like Ruth wasn't there. One morning, Ruth found Emma in the chicken coop, trying to fix a broken nesting box. The girl's hands were too small for the hammer, her aim uncertain. "I can help with that," Ruth offered. "I don't need help." Emma swung the hammer, missed the nail entirely, hit her thumb. She gasped but didn't cry. Ruth knelt beside her. "Your mama taught you to take care of things, didn't she?" Emma's face went hard. "Don't talk about my mama. She taught you well. You're strong and capable." "I have to be. Nobody else will take care of them." Emma's voice cracked. Everyone leaves. Ruth understood then. Emma wasn't pushing her away out of cruelty. She was protecting herself from another loss. You're right, Ruth said quietly. You do take care of them beautifully. But Emma, you're 8 years old. You shouldn't have to carry everything alone. I'm the oldest. It's my job. What if it wasn't? What if someone helped carry the weight with you? Emma looked at her with eyes far too old. Why would you? Because you need help. And I'm here. Emma turned back to the nesting box, but her hands were shaking. I don't know how to fix this. Will you teach me how Thomas likes his eggs? I keep getting them wrong. Emma blinked. You want me to teach you? You know them better than anyone. I need your help to take care of them properly. Something shifted in Emma's face. He likes them scrambled, not too wet. Show me. For the first time, Emma smiled. Small, uncertain but real. That afternoon, Emma came to Ruth in the kitchen. Lucy needs her hair braided for bedtime. She won't sleep if it's loose. Mama always braided it. Will you show me how your mama did it? Emma's eyes filled with tears. But she nodded. They sat together on the porch, Lucy between them. Emma's small fingers guided Ruth's larger ones through the familiar pattern. Mama used to sing while she braided, Emma whispered. What did she sing? Emma sang softly, a lullaby about stars and sleep. Her voice broke halfway through. Ruth picked up the melody, humming when she didn't know the words. Emma joined back in, stronger this time. When the braid was finished, Lucy turned and hugged Ruth. Then, hesitantly, she hugged Emma too. I miss Mama, Lucy said. Me too, Emma whispered. Can we miss Mama and love Miss Ruth at the same time? Thomas asked from the doorway. Emma looked at Ruth. Ruth looked back, letting the child decide. Yes, Emma said finally. I think we can. That night, Emma knocked on Ruth's door after bedtime. I'm tired of being strong all the time. Ruth opened her arms. Emma collapsed into them, sobbing like the child she was. Ruth held her, rocked her, let her cry for the mother she'd lost and the childhood she'd sacrificed. Then let me be strong for both of us, Ruth whispered. James watched these small transformations from a distance. He saw Ruth teaching Thomas his letters at the kitchen table. Saw her planting vegetables with Emma in the garden. Saw her rocking Lucy to sleep each night. One evening, Emma brought her schoolwork to the table. I have to draw a picture of my family for class. James sat down awkwardly. I'll help. He tried to draw a house. It looked like a collapsed barn. Emma giggled. Thomas laughed outright. Even James smiled. Your turn, Miss Ruth, Emma said. Ruth drew simple but careful, a house with 4 figures on the porch. Emma, Thomas, Lucy, and James. She added flowers in the garden, chickens in the yard. It's perfect, Emma breathed. James looked at the drawing. At Ruth's capable hands. At the way she'd made his children laugh for the first time in months. Their eyes met across the table. You're good at this, he said quietly. Ruth's cheeks flushed. It's just a drawing. I meant all of it. The moment stretched. Thomas broke it by spilling ink across the table. Everyone scrambled for rags, laughing, working together to clean the mess. Later, after the children were asleep, James found Ruth on the porch. They're different now, he said. Lighter. Like they're children again instead of small adults. They just needed someone to let them be children. You did that. I couldn't. Ruth shook her head. You kept them alive. You gave them food and shelter and safety. That's everything. But you gave them something more. James sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. You gave them hope. They sat in comfortable silence, looking at the stars. The next Sunday, the schoolteacher stopped Ruth after church. Emma's reading has improved remarkably. She seems happier. She's a bright child. I'm visiting the school next Tuesday afternoon. Parents usually attend. Emma specifically asked if you would come. Ruth hesitated. I'm not her mother. No. But you're the one she wants there. The following Tuesday, Ruth walked to the one-room schoolhouse with James. Emma beamed when she saw them both. Miss Adelaide, the teacher, praised Emma's work openly. She's thriving. More confident. Joyful even. She looked at Ruth. She's blooming because of the woman who comes with her. Outside afterward, the school trustee, Mr. Blackwell, stopped James with a hand on his arm. That woman isn't the child's mother, Hayes. She's the woman caring for my children. People are talking. The arrangement isn't proper. Ruth's face burned with shame. But James's jaw tightened. My children are fed, clothed, loved, and thriving. I don't much care what people say about it. Mr. Blackwell's eyes narrowed. You should care. The school board doesn't look kindly on improper situations around children. He walked away, leaving the threat hanging in the air. Ruth stood very still. I should go. No. James's voice was firm. You're not leaving because small-minded men make threats. I'm endangering your children's reputation. You're saving their lives. He turned to face her. Emma smiled today. Really smiled. Do you know how long it's been since I've seen that? Ruth looked at the schoolhouse, at Emma waving from the window. They need you, James said quietly. We all do. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning neither was ready to name. The children were healing, but James was still drowning. Ruth saw it in the way he worked himself to exhaustion. In the way he spoke to the children about meals and bedtime but never about their mother. In the way he flinched when Lucy called out Papa in the night. One evening Thomas asked, Papa, did Mama like flowers? James's face went blank. Eat your supper, son. But did she? Emma says she did, but I can't remember. That's enough, Thomas. The boy's face fell. He put down his fork and stared at his plate. After the children went to bed, Ruth found James in the barn, methodically repairing a harness that didn't need fixing. You can't do that, she said quietly. Do what? Shut them out when they ask about her. James's hand stilled. I don't know what to say. Say yes, she loved flowers. Say she planted daisies by the fence. Say her name, James. Say Sarah. He flinched like she'd struck him. They need to hear you talk about her. They need to know it's safe to remember. It's not safe. His voice broke. Talking about her makes it real. Makes it final. It already is final. But your children are still here, and they're learning that love means loss and silence. James's shoulders shook. Ruth stepped closer. What if I can't? He whispered. What if I start talking about her and can't stop breaking? Then you break. And we'll be there to help you heal. That Sunday after church, James took the children to Sarah's grave for the first time since the funeral. Ruth stayed back, giving them space. She watched James kneel between his children. Watched him cry. Watched Emma wrap her small arms around her father's neck. Watched Thomas touch the headstone gently. Watched Lucy pick dandelions and place them on the grave. When they came back, Thomas's first words were, Mama did like flowers. Papa said so. That evening, James sat with the children before bed. Your mama used to sing you a song about mockingbirds. Do you remember? Emma's face lit up. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. That's the one. They sang it together, James's deep voice cracking, Emma's clear and strong, Thomas humming along. Lucy fell asleep in Ruth's lap, peaceful. After, Emma asked, Can we talk about Mama now? Without you getting sad. I'll always get sad, sweetheart. But yes, we can talk about her. I'm glad. I was scared I'd forget her voice. James pulled her close. I won't let you forget. The days found their rhythm. Ruth and James worked side by side, their movements synchronized without planning. In the garden one morning, planting late summer vegetables, their hands met in the soil. Both paused. Neither pulled away. You're good at this, James said. Planting. All of it. Being here. Being part of this. Their eyes met. Ruth's heart hammered. Thomas's voice broke the moment. Miss Ruth, come see what I found. That afternoon, Ruth taught the children to make bread. Emma kneaded dough with fierce concentration. Thomas got flour everywhere. Lucy mostly ate the dough raw. James watched from the doorway, a smile playing at his lips. What? Ruth asked, catching him staring. Nothing. Just, this house hasn't felt this alive in a long time. It's them. They're coming back to themselves. It's you. You brought life back. The words sat between them, heavy with meaning. Later, as Ruth put Lucy down for her nap, the little girl asked, "Will you be my mama now?" Ruth's breath caught. "Your mama is in heaven, sweetheart. I can't replace her. But can you be my mama too? Emma says people can have two mamas. One in heaven and one here." Ruth's eyes burned with tears. "If that's what you want." "It is." Lucy yawned, already half asleep. "I love you, Mama Ruth." The words broke something open in Ruth's chest. That evening, she told James what Lucy had said. "And what did you tell her?" "That if she wanted me to be her mama, I would be." James was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Sarah would have liked you." "You can't know that." "I do. She would have loved how you care for them. How you see them." He paused. "How you see me." Ruth's cheeks flushed. "James, I know this is complicated. I know I'm still grieving. But Ruth, you're not just the woman who cares for my children. You're—" He trailed off, unable to finish. "I'm what?" "You're becoming necessary. To all of us." The words hung in the air between them. Not quite a declaration. Not quite a promise. But something close. That night, Ruth sat on the porch, watching the stars. James came out and sat beside her. Closer than necessary. Close enough that their shoulders touched. They didn't speak. Didn't need to. Inside, 3 children slept peacefully. Outside, 2 broken people were learning that healing didn't mean forgetting. It meant making room for something new without erasing what came before. And slowly, carefully, they were learning to make room for each other. The trouble came on a Tuesday morning. Ruth was hanging laundry when she saw them, the sheriff and a stern-looking man in a black suit riding up the path. James came out of the barn, wiping his hands. "Can I help you, Sheriff Patterson? This is Judge Winters from the county seat. He's here on official business." The judge dismounted, his face hard. "Mr. Hartley, we've received a formal complaint regarding the welfare of your children." Ruth's stomach dropped. "What complaint?" James's voice went cold. "That an unmarried woman of questionable character is living in your home, acting as mother to your children. The county has concerns about the moral environment." "Ruth has done nothing but care for my children." "That may be. But the arrangement is improper. We're here under court order to assess the situation." Emma appeared on the porch, Thomas and Lucy behind her. "Papa." The judge's eyes fixed on the children. "I'll need to speak with them. Separately." "No." James stepped forward. "You're not interrogating my children." "Mr. Hartley, I can do this with your cooperation or I can return with armed deputies. Your choice." Ruth touched James's arm. "It's all right. Let him talk to them. They'll tell the truth." The judge interviewed Emma first, in the front room. Ruth could hear the child's voice through the door, steady at first, then wavering under harsh questions. "Does Miss Ruth sleep in your father's room?" "No, sir. She has her own room with a lock." "Has your father shown inappropriate affection toward this woman?" Emma's voice went small. "I don't understand." Thomas went next. His voice was smaller, uncertain under the judge's cold tone. "Do you like Miss Ruth?" "Yes, sir. She's nice." "Has she told you not to tell people things? Secrets?" "No, sir. She teaches us not to lie." When Lucy's turn came, the little girl cried. The judge's questions were too sharp, his tone too harsh. She reached for Ruth through the doorway, sobbing. Ruth's heart shattered, but she couldn't go to her. Couldn't comfort her. James stood rigid, fists clenched, watching his daughter cry and unable to help. Finally, the judge examined the house, checked Ruth's separate room, noted the clean kitchen, the well-fed children, the tidy beds. The children are physically cared for, he said. But the moral situation remains unacceptable. What does that mean? James demanded. It means Miss Brennan has 48 hours to leave this property. If she remains, the children will be removed by county order and placed in the care of the church orphanage until proper arrangements can be made. Ruth felt the ground tilt beneath her. You can't do that, James said, his voice dangerous. I can and I will. This arrangement violates community standards of decency. The complaint was filed by concerned citizens, including your school trustee and several church members. Then I'll marry her. Today. The judge shook his head. Too late for that, Mr. Hartley. The complaint is filed. The record of impropriety is established. Even marriage won't erase months of moral corruption in the eyes of the law. He mounted his horse. 48 hours, Miss Brennan. After that, if you're still here, the children will be taken into custody. They rode away, leaving silence. Emma ran to Ruth, wrapping her arms around her waist. You can't leave. You promised. I know, sweetheart. Thomas started crying. Lucy was still sobbing from the interview. James stood frozen, staring after the judge. That night, Ruth packed her small bag. James found her in her room. What are you doing? Saving your children. By leaving them? By keeping them out of an orphanage. Her hands shook as she folded her spare dress. If I leave, the judge has no reason to take them. And if you stay, we fight. We can't fight the county. We can try. Ruth looked at him. At this good man who'd given her a place when she had none. And if we lose? Your children go to an orphanage because I was too selfish to leave. You're not selfish. You're the least selfish person I've ever known. Then let me do this one selfish thing. Let me save them. She tried to move past him. He caught her hand. I love you, James said. The words came out rough, desperate. I don't know when it happened, but I love you. And my children love you. You're not just necessary anymore. You're ours. Ruth's tears spilled over. That's why I have to go. Because I love you too. All of you. Too much to let you lose everything. She pulled her hand free and kept packing. An hour before dawn, Ruth slipped out of her room. The house was quiet. She'd said her goodbyes to the children the night before, though they didn't know those goodbyes were final. She was halfway to the door when she heard it. Footsteps. Small ones. Emma stood at the bottom of the stairs in her nightgown, eyes wide. You're leaving. I have to. You promised you'd stay. I promised I'd protect you. This is how I do that. Emma's face crumpled. No. Her scream woke the house. Thomas appeared, then Lucy. James came running from his room. All three children threw themselves at Ruth, sobbing, clinging. Don't go, Mama Ruth. Lucy wailed. Please stay. Thomas begged. Emma just held on, shaking with sobs. James stood there, watching his children's hearts break. There has to be another way, he said. Ruth looked at these four people she loved more than her own life. At the family she'd never thought she'd have. There is, she whispered. We fight. James called an emergency town meeting for Sunday after church. The whole town came, some out of concern, most out of curiosity for the scandal. The church was packed. Judge Winters sat in the front row, flanked by Mr. Blackwell and the preacher's wife. Ruth sat with James and the children, feeling every eye on her. The judge stood. We're here because Mr. Hartley has requested a public hearing on the custody matter. Very well. Let the community witness. He laid out the complaint: unmarried woman, improper arrangement, moral corruption of innocent children. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Then James stood. My children were dying when Ruth Brennan came into our lives. Not from hunger or cold. From grief. From loneliness. From a father who didn't know how to help them heal. His voice carried through the church. Emma stopped sleeping. Thomas stopped talking. Lucy stopped eating. I kept them alive, but they weren't living. Then Ruth came. He looked at her, his eyes full. She taught Emma it was okay to be a child again. She taught Thomas to laugh. She taught Lucy to trust. And she taught me how to be a father to grieving children instead of just a man who feeds them. The judge started to speak, but Emma stood up. I want to talk. Ruth tried to stop her, but James nodded. Let her speak. Emma walked to the front of the church, small and brave. My mama died and I thought I had to be the mama after. I had to be strong all the time. I had to take care of everyone. Tears streamed down her face. But I was so tired. And I was sad. And I missed my mama so much. She looked at Ruth. Miss Ruth didn't try to be my mama. She just loved me. She told me I could be sad and strong. That I could miss mama and love her too. She taught me I didn't have to choose. The judge's face remained hard. The children's feelings don't change the impropriety. But other voices started rising. Miss Adelaide, the schoolteacher, stood. Emma has thrived this year. She's happy. She's excelling. That's because of Miss Brennan. Old Mrs. Henderson from the boarding house stood. I was wrong about Ruth Brennan. I called her unfit. But watching those children love her, watching her love them back. I was the one who was unfit. Unfit to judge. One by one, people stood. Not everyone, but enough. The judge's certainty started to crack. Then Ruth stood. Her legs shook, but she walked to the front. 2 years ago, a man told me I wasn't fit for any man. I believed him. I believed I wasn't worth wanting. Wasn't worth choosing. Her voice grew stronger. But these children chose me anyway. They chose me when I was broken. When I was ashamed. When I thought I had nothing to offer. They saw past what I looked like and loved who I was. She looked at the judge. You say I'm unfit to be in their lives. But they're the ones who made me fit. Their love made me whole. And I won't apologize for that. The church was silent. The judge looked at the community. At the children. At James standing beside Ruth like he'd fight the whole county for her. Finally he spoke. The children are clearly well cared for. The community has spoken in Miss Brennan's favor. I'm dismissing the complaint. Relief crashed through the room. However, the judge continued, the arrangement remains improper. If you wish to continue caring for these children, Miss Brennan, you and Mr. Hartley should marry. Properly and legally. The preacher stood from his seat. I can perform the ceremony. Right now, if you're willing. James turned to Ruth. I know this isn't how anyone dreams of being proposed to. In front of the whole town, with a judge ordering it. He took her hands. But Ruth, I want to marry you. Not because I have to. Because I choose to. Because my children chose you first, and I choose you now. Because you taught us all how to live again. Ruth's tears fell freely. Yes. I choose you too. All of you. The preacher stepped forward. The ceremony was simple. But when James kissed his bride, the church erupted in applause. Emma, Thomas, and Lucy rushed forward, wrapping their arms around Ruth and James. We're a family now, Emma said. A real family. We always were, Ruth whispered. We just made it official. 6 months later, Ruth stood in the garden, hands in the soil, planting spring vegetables. Emma worked beside her, chattering about school. Thomas chased chickens. Lucy napped on a blanket in the shade. James came up behind Ruth, wrapped his arms around her waist, rested his chin on her shoulder. Happy? He asked. I never knew I could be this happy. Neither did I. That evening, they all sat on the porch watching the sunset. Emma was reading aloud to Thomas. Lucy was curled in Ruth's lap. James held Ruth's hand. Tell us the story again, Thomas said. Which story? Ruth asked. How you came to us. Ruth smiled. I came because I had nowhere else to go. And you stayed because you loved us, Emma finished. No, Ruth corrected gently. I stayed because you loved me first. You taught me I was worthy of love, even when I didn't believe it myself. And now you're stuck with us forever, James said, squeezing her hand. Forever, Ruth agreed. As stars began to appear, Ruth thought about the woman she'd been, the one who believed she wasn't fit for any man, who thought her body determined her worth, who'd learned to make herself small and invisible. That woman was gone. In her place was someone who knew the truth. Love wasn't about being perfect. It was about being present, about showing up, about choosing each other every single day. She wasn't fit for any man. She was exactly right for this man. These children. And that was everything.